Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MIT 100K Accelerate show. My name is Dennis Jang.
And my name is Andrea Polito, and we are your contest directors and your MCs for the night. We're so excited for this evening's program because you're going to hear from some excellent speakers, you're going to hear from some demos from 8 of the hottest startup teams right here at MIT, and find out who the winner is of the first annual MIT 100K Accelerate contest.
Tonight's show is the culmination of a 3-month process. Back in early December, 262 teams from all over MIT submitted ideas for product demos that they wanted to build over the independent activities period. We selected the top 30 and gave them seed funding, mentors, workspace, and tons of other resources for them to turn their startup ideas into reality. Tonight, you're going to see the live demos from the top 8 teams out of those 30. And later tonight, we're going to ask you to choose the winner of our $2,000 Audience Choice Award. And our judges here are going to choose the winner of the $10,000 Daniel M. Lewin Grand Prize.
But before we do that, we're going to kick off tonight with a keynote from Seth Prepatch. Seth Prepatch is a 23-year-old chief ninja of Cambridge-based startup Scavenger. Scavenger has 2 products, Scavenger and Level Up, both of which are built to bring game mechanics into the real world. Scavenger specifically is a location-based mobile game with over 2 million players and 5,000 enterprises building on it. Level Up is a mobile payment meets loyalty app that is now the 2nd biggest mobile payment network in the United States. And from what he told me tonight, it's about to go into the #1 spot. Please join me in giving Seth a warm welcome to the stage.
We should just play the music. That's pretty good. Get all hyped up. So can everyone hear me all right? Sounds good? Someone in the back, wave if you can hear me. Awesome. Well, thank you guys, and it's awesome to be here. And I'm going to run you through some sort of fun, what I sort of call borrowed knowledge, some things that I've sort of stolen from people along the way to help me get my startup off the ground, get running, try and build it into something big. I always start with this slide, which is to remember to say hello. So hi, everyone. My name is Seth Prepatch. I am actually the chief ninja. If you guys are going on to do a startup, I highly recommend not calling yourself CEO. It's something fairly boring. I'll go through why that's strategically important in a second. And we'll start with basically borrowed knowledge. And the disclaimer that I have to give you on this is that most of what I'm about to say is borrowed, i.e. stolen from other people. I've tried to give credit where credit is due. If you see anything that's like a famous quote from some famous person and I've misattributed it, let me know, call me out, feel free to shout out from the audience. Totally cool. Interactivity is much more fun anyways. A little bit of background, and this is particularly fun for me because I actually got my start at a different business plan competition, but just about like 3 years ago, almost to the day. I was a freshman at Princeton. I'm now a proud Princeton dropout, so I can't quite claim that I get to say I attended, in air quotes, Princeton. I was doing math and computer science there. There they had a Princeton 5K, so this one is at least twice as good, so you guys already have that going for you. And pitched Scavenger there, had no logo, no anything, made everything the color orange because Princeton is like weirdly obsessed with the color orange. This is apparently a very big thing for them. I figured the judges would like the color orange and would be more likely to vote for me. That worked. Now I'm stuck with it. So there's not really anything I can do about that. But got my start there. As was mentioned, I'm now working on a company called Scavenger, 2 products. Both are growing really, really fast. 6 months ago, we were 60 people. Now we're 120 people. We just opened up offices in 7 new cities. So we're headquartered here in Cambridge. We just opened up offices in Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle, San Francisco, San Diego, Philadelphia, New York. And I think that's 8. If I've missed one, let me know. Other fun things, I mainly just work. I tend to sleep at the office. I also, because you have to be able to have something to talk about with VCs, learned how to kite surf. That's also really important. You can do golfing, but that's very out of vogue these days. And like I said, got started at the Princeton Business Plan Competition. So business plan competitions are awesome, and I'm really excited to be here. So 2 quotes to start with. The first one, yeah, don't look at the second one yet. We're saving that for later. The first one is that any good entrepreneur walks a fine line between obsession, addiction, and a psychopathic inability to think of anything else. And this was actually told to me several times, so I know it comes from someone. It's just unknown to me. So I'm hoping to use it and have someone at the end like Google this or Bing and find it for me. But the important line of this is that if you're going to do a startup, you have to get ready to become obsessed. People sort of tell you that there's this thing called work-life balance. That's a lie. There isn't. Maybe it exists if you go to work at a large corporation, if you go and work on something else. If you're doing a startup, become obsessed, become addicted. I sleep at the office. Literally, it's important. It's a really good thing to do. You're going to have fun. You're doing a startup because you're different, right? You're picking something that you're passionate about, and you get to focus on it. So celebrate that. Don't worry about work-life balance. Go for a run in the morning if you can to stay healthy. But other than that, pretty much every time on what you're doing. The second important one, and this is particularly relevant here at MIT, is fuck statistics. I actually like math a lot. I was doing math and computer science at Princeton. Math is really, really fun. But statistics will only make you sad. Really sad. Not because they're numbers, but because they're depressing. If you look at the statistics about startups, like all of them fail. If you read the statistics, you will never, ever do a startup. Frankly, if you read the statistics, you shouldn't leave your home. Like, it's very dangerous. All sorts of things are scary, right? So fuck statistics. Just do not pay attention to them. They're not important. Some startups succeed, and that's all that really matters. So focus on that, and don't worry too much about the statistics. They're kind of scary. The other ones, next piece of advice, and they're labeled up in very, very tiny text up there. So there are about 7 of them for those of you keeping count. That's an important statistic. Business cards are not super important. I stopped carrying business cards almost immediately. But what is important is picking a fun title. I am the chief ninja of Scavenger. I'm not the CEO. I've never called myself that. I never want to be called that. And everyone at Scavenger has fun titles. Our head of enterprise development is chief brand alchemist because he takes our technology and turns to brands and brings them gold. All sorts of fun things like that. The reason why I picked chief ninja is that VCs are really, really talented at negotiating against CEOs. They have rarely negotiated against a ninja. We're incredibly sneaky. They've got all sorts of terms that they slide in there, and you're like, no, and you pull it out, right? If you've ever played Fruit Ninja, it's like that, but for financing. So try that. Pick a slightly more fun title. Have fun with it. If you're doing something that requires you to be very serious, like if you're doing a healthcare company, then you may want to go for, for something that has a bit more of a legitimate, position because people want, they expect a certain level of behavior. If you're doing something that's a game company or a mobile company or payments or things where you can, have a little bit of fun and make it a bit more engaging, go as fun as you can. It's really a good thing to do. And have lots of toys at the office. We have flying monkeys. I was just talking to someone about Nerf guns. Get lots of Nerf guns. They're really important. They keep meetings short. If you have lots of long meetings, bring a Nerf gun. It will end very quickly because someone will get shot in the head and get offended. And everyone should get an AR drone. They pay me to say this. No, not really. But everyone should get an AR drone because they're awesome. Jumping on the next thing, just proof. I started with that business card. I now go with Chief Ninja. It's much, much better. If you'll bear with me for a moment, I'd like to show you a graph of the average rainfall over the Amazon basin over the last couple of years. The next thing is learning how to negotiate. It's really important to learn how to negotiate over Facebook. So so the very first deal that I did was with Peter Bell from Highland Capital, who, if you guys get a chance to meet him, absolutely great guy. And we were going back over Facebook. We were going back over SMS. The traditional rules of VC negotiation, especially in the technology sector, are pretty much over. So learn how to do all sorts of strange things. If a VC pokes you on Facebook, however, I've learned this, do not poke them back. I've never had a term sheet retracted faster than that. Really, really awkward. Just letting you know. The second thing is, especially in a very early stage, and this is the thing that I really wish someone had told me at a very, very early stage, is that VCs aren't great at math. Also, I should clarify, one of my investors is also a judge, sitting right there, Rich Miner, everyone wave. So Rich Miner, earmuffs for a second. So VCs are not terribly good at math, except for Rich, who's incredibly clever. But most VCs don't really understand how to value companies. So you can go in, and you can be very confident, and you're selling a vision, right? You're selling a dream. Of course you don't have the thing working yet. Of course all of your 5-year revenue projections are completely made up, and who can't make an exponential curve look good? It's not that hard. But all the numbers are made up, so go in and pick a number, right? The absolute worst thing you can do, especially at a very early stage, is say, this is my dream. I care deeply about this. You value it for me. That's not correct. Go in and pick something reasonable, right? You don't want to maximize on valuation. You want to maximize on value, which is slightly different. But pick a number that's reasonable and go in and say, hey, this is why I think it's worth X, Y, and Z. Especially at the early stage, at least start the conversation somewhere. So that's pretty important. And the last one, this sort of goes back to the first point. Holidays, if you're doing a startup, they don't count anymore. They're over. You can invent your own, the post-financing sabbatical. But other than that, just move on. Don't worry about them too much. Next one. Decisions are really tough. This is actually a real quote that I got from 2 people, Joe Caruso, who is one of the earliest investors in Scavenger, and then Roger Enrico, who's the chairman of PepsiCo, which is that when you're faced with a tough decision or with a decision, the best thing is to do the right thing, the next best thing is to do the wrong thing, and the worst thing is to do nothing. And that's really important because you're going to have like all sorts of crazy decisions you have to make. You're going to have to pick between VCs. In my case, I had to pick whether to stay in school or to drop out. You have to do, like, if you're going to an early stage fund, you have to pick which one you're going to be spending the summer with, all sorts of tricky decisions. The most important thing to remember is that paralysis is bad. Right? You're going to make a decision. The only thing you can do that's absolutely wrong is not making the decision and not making it in a reasonable time frame. Of course, take time to think things through, but make a decision in the end, so don't worry about that too much. Joe Caruso, I think, does this the best of anyone that I've ever met. He wrote me the first check for Scavenger, literally when I was still at Princeton. I'd come up to Boston to run the marathon with my high school friends. I met with him like out in Hopkinton for orange juice before the marathon. He said, hey, what is this thing you're working on? I gave him a quick 20-minute pitch over breakfast. He said, that sounds awesome, wrote me a $5,000 check. I literally put it in my shoe and ran back to Boston. And he was like, look, it's $5,000. And like the worst thing to do would have been not do anything, and it seemed better than not. So go. It's done very well for him. This is a really good piece of advice. Try not to pay rent. This is a very tactical one compared to the others. But in the early stages, try not to pay rent. There are lots of people who will give you lots of space for free. My joke is that at our very first office, we all worked out in the morning because if you had good upper body strength, the walls didn't go quite to the ceiling, and you could sort of like lift your way up and fall over them and then like open the door from the inside. And so we had like 20 offices. It was awesome, for which we paid for one. This may or may not be legal. I'm not entirely sure. I think there's squatting regulations in Massachusetts that make it okay. But the point is, in an early stage, try and focus only expenses on what you need. So if you need a nice office space at a certain point of time to impress people, then it makes a bunch of sense. Early stage, MIT has huge resources. Highland has a bunch of incubator labs. You can go to lots of different places and get space. So try not to pay rent if you can get away with it. Sort of jumping from tactical to other things. This, Rich, eye muffs. I didn't realize you were going to be here, actually. It's sort of awkward. Sorry. So, I generally ask this ahead of time.
I'm not worried about that one.
Okay, yeah, no. So Rich was an entrepreneur, and that's the exception. This is how I will creatively talk my way out of this really awkward situation. So I generally ask if there are any VCs in the audience. I know there are, so I apologize ahead of time. But people tend to think that VCs are just these incredibly omniscient, omnipotent beings that somehow, like Zeus in his almighty wonder, forged and gave to Earth as some very important present so that we could have startup financing. The truth of the matter is that entrepreneurs are the ones that are the limited resources and the ones that really have to do the huge amount of work. Right? So VCs, some of them used to be entrepreneurs, and then they got a little bit tired. And do not tweet this. This is dangerous. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry. That's not friendly. No. So feel free to tweet this. The point is that entrepreneurs are the limited resource, right? There are actually many more VCs and many more investments done in lots of companies. The important thing is finding the entrepreneur who can actually build something great. So treat yourself as the limited resource. Know that they might be a VC because they did a startup for a while and now they're tired. And VCs are essentially retired entrepreneurs or sometimes just MBAs who luckily get a bunch of limited partner money and get to put it in other places. The point is that you actually are smarter than them. You actually are working harder than them. They do not have a huge amount of domain expertise in necessarily what you're doing, so don't get too intimidated, right? Be able to go in and say with confidence, hey, I know this space that I'm focusing on. I spend more time thinking about it and more time strategizing about how to win than anyone else in the world. So, no, I refuse to be intimidated. Rich is taking a picture now. Change slide. I'll send you the deck afterwards. It'll be fine. Yeah, ooh, burn. I love that we're in an audience where Android burns are like an okay zinger, right? Like that makes me feel really at home. So this is one that's a little bit more serious and is worth spending a bunch of time thinking about. There's a difference between being arrogant and being actually right. As you can tell, I have no idea where the line lies, but I have been told that there is such a line, and it's very important to understand the difference. And the reason why it's important is because sometimes you go out and you say truly insane things. And sometimes you're right. Like I go out and I say, hey, we're going to build a game layer on top of the world. And then I say, and one of the applications of this game layer is going to be to actually build the largest mobile payment network. And we're not going to let Google Wallet do it. And we're not going to let ISIS do it. And we're not going to let Verizon or American Express or MasterCard or PayPal or any of these guys who have just infinitely more money and more resources than us do it. But we have something that is very special, which is the ability to motivate behavior and make it fun and make it elegant. And we're just going to win. And that sounds completely insane, and it sounds a little bit arrogant. And sometimes it is arrogant, and you have to be willing to accept those situations. And sometimes you're actually right. And you have to be willing to trust yourself in those situations. And finding the line between them is very, very tricky. But knowing that there is a line at least makes you think, when I say something that's completely crazy, this could be one of two things. It could be crazy brilliant, or it could be crazy crazy. And as long as you're somewhat aware of that, then you're better off than if you're not. So someone told me this, and I actually had the good sense to listen to them, and it was pretty important. And they told it to me right before the first VC that I ever met with, who I can't give you his name, but I will later on if you ask me. No, I won't. And the first thing he said to me after the presentation was, "You are absolutely not VC fundable. There is absolutely no way that a VC will ever fund this idea. Thank you for your time. See you later." So every term sheet I get, I send him a mimeographed copy to email, and one in a nice little box with a chocolate. And it's very, very friendly. And so in that case, I was being arrogant, but it was actually right? We've gotten a lot of term sheets. Sometimes I say things that are crazy, and I'm actually wrong, and trying to find those is reasonably tricky. But so that's the last important one, a little bit more somber than the others, because it's also the hardest one that I'm still working on as much as anything else. So K, thanks, bye, and really looking forward to watching the presentations. Thank you, guys. Do you want this? Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you, Seth. No, that was wonderful. Let's give him one more round of applause. Now, before we hear our first demos, we'd like to introduce our panel of judges, and in the process, separate Seth and Rich so they can't beat each other in the judging panel. So our first judge is Chris Gabrielli, a partner at Bessemer Venture Partners. Our second judge is Maura.
By the way. Wasn't sure.
No, you got it. Our second judge is Maura O'Neill, the Chief Innovation Officer at USAID. Our third judge is Seth Priebatsch, Chief Ninja and founder of Scavenger. And last but not least, our final judge is Rich Miner, founder of Android and partner at Google Ventures.
Now, the MIT 100K is made up of 6 different industry tracks. And each track had 5 semifinalist teams for Accelerate. The 6 tracks are emerging markets, energy, life sciences, mobile, products and services, and web IT. Now, to choose the top 8 teams, we had industry experts from each track review the demos, and they chose the first and second place team from each track. The first place team in each track automatically advanced as a finalist. We then had different panel of judges review the 6 second place teams from each track, and they chose the best 2 from those 6 in order to also advance as finalists. So now we'd like to introduce the 8 Accelerate finalists that you're going to see tonight. From the emerging markets track, we have Waste to Watts and WeCyclers. From the energy track, Solid Energy. From the life sciences track, Averasense. From the mobile track, Pedal. From the products and services track, Meter. And from the web IT track, Recovers.org and Bustle.
Now tonight, each team will have 5 minutes to present their demos and 1 minute to answer questions from the judges. After we hear from all 8 demos, you, the audience, will have the opportunity to choose the winner of the $2,000 Audience Choice Award, and our judging panel will choose the winner of the $10,000 Daniel M. Lewin Grand Prize. Now, without further ado, I'd like to invite up our first team from the mobile track, Pedal.
Okay, great, thanks. Hi guys, my name is Tony. This is David, this is Matt, and we are Pedal. Pedal is a new marketplace that we have developed for buying and selling goods and services with people around you. We talk about it as the easiest way to buy and sell things with the people around you. And we describe its easiness coming through by following the 3 fundamental pillars that we have looked at while we've built our app and built our marketplace. Simplicity, how easy is it to use? How does it feel in your hands? Locality, what's going on around me and how easy is it to see what's in my neighborhood and what's near me? And trust, returning trust into mobile marketplaces and buying and selling secondhand goods. I'll take you through a quick little demo. I touch the app, this is iOS, and we see everything on a map. So Pedal starts on a map. I can see what's in my neighborhood. I can touch a post, somebody has a bike. Somebody's going to deliver a birthday gift. And finally, there's a box set of a cool Michel Gondry DVD set that maybe I want. Now, what I can do at this point is say, OK, I want that. And I'm going to go ahead and tap it and expand it open. And here I can see everything about this post. I can see the price. I can see the name. I can see the photo. Importantly, I can also see social features, which builds trust. So I can see if we have any friends in common on Facebook, if we go to a similar school, if we both go to MIT, things like that. And in this case, OK, I like it. I want it. I'm going to click that I want it. Now I'm going to change my price to $12 because 15 is definitely too high. And I'm going to click Post it on Petal. And it's that simple. Now it's in this system, and it's public for everybody to see. Now, at this point, what I can do is I can continue browsing, find 100 other things I like, or I can have a negotiation with this person. So I'm going to press chat with the browser, with the poster, sorry. And just like that, very simple, I have integrated messaging inside of the app. So I never have to express or expose what my email address is. I can have a full conversation, decide when and where to pick it up, negotiate on price. And importantly, I can call anonymously. So I can just, by tapping that, dial an outbound call to that person, which will then outbound call me. So my phone number is never exposed. So that's about simplicity and trust. So that way I can use the system any way I want without ever having to expose my Gmail inbox like you have to do today with Craigslist. Oh, and of course, everything you just saw on that app is also available as a fully functional web app at petal.com. This is live now, and it's live data, so you can check it out as soon as this is over.
So when we were building this marketplace, we, of course, looked at other marketplaces today. So Craigslist, eBay, TaskRate, Zarly, these are all marketplaces. How we are different. We think that there are two fundamental marketplaces today. There are seller-powered and buyer-powered marketplaces. On Craigslist and eBay, you can post what you want to sell. On buyer-powered marketplaces like TaskRate and Zarly, you can post what you want other people to do for you. We think that there are meaningful negotiations lost in this picture, and we created the first balanced marketplace, which we call Petal. You can post what you want or what you have in the system. And we introduced we went back in time and introduced the first bid-ask marketplace, where similarly to how trading pits work today, stock exchanges, people use hand gestures and very simple signs to say whether they have or want something. In Petal, we distill this to two very simple expressions. You can say, I want something, and you're willing to pay a certain amount of money for it, or you can say, I have something, and I'm willing to sell it for a certain amount of money.
So how big is this opportunity? Well, we're working closely with a company in San Francisco called 3Taps. And they analyze mountains of Craigslist data, and they've come up with this figure. Every year on Craigslist, there are 720.6 million posts. We think that's an astonishingly large figure. But what's even more astonishing, oh, and it's a very big piece of pie. But what's even more astonishing is every single one of those posts is made through this interface. Even more astonishing than that is if we rewind 10 years to the day, it looks almost the same. So we think this is a space that is ripe for innovation and a space where we can do really interesting things. So how are we starting? Well, this is a picture from a few days ago of the activity on Petal. We're slicing off one very small part of that pie, and that's Boston. One of the great things about local marketplaces is the network effect only works in isolation. So if we can get decent usage here, we feel like we can replicate that in other markets. And what we're seeing is that people like what we have to offer. So we need help. Go out there, download the app, petal.com, petal.com/download. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Sure. So, I don't know if you can hear me, but so I just downloaded the app, and whoever your designer is, you should give them a high five. This thing is gorgeous.
It's all three of us.
Yeah. Okay. Well done. That's awesome. So the biggest issue that I generally see in these types of sort of bifocal marketplaces is the chicken egg problem. So what strategies do you guys have in place to deal with that and get some level of critical mass of postings where it starts being useful the first or second time that someone taps into it?
Right. Well, already we've seen phenomenal usage. We just put it out there 8 days ago, and from just the emails we've sent, from just the few articles we've had written in the Boston area, we've seen enough posts to actually start getting liquidity. So we're not quite past the chicken and egg problem, but we've made enough of a first stab at that space that I think it'll help us move forward.
I can add to that too. I think maybe you'll appreciate this. We also want to incentivize the single player mode, right? So somehow rewarding usage without anybody even transacting in the system is important to us. So for example, we want to encourage and incentivize the input of what you have into the system by giving you something back. And so maybe we can tell you the total value, aggregate value of all the stuff you have and how that's trending against what we can see through what 3Taps is giving us from Craigslist. And that there is just value by itself. Whether or not you choose to sell those things on the market, then that's up to you.
Yeah, no, that's clever.
How many items are listed?
Under 1,000, but not far under 1,000.
All right. Thank you very much, Petal. All right, now we'd like to invite up our next team from the energy track, Solid Energy.
Dave? Sorry, John. Does this work? Perfect. We are Solid Energy, and we make the world's safest battery. Batteries are used in everything. Oil drilling, consumer electronics, electric vehicles. There's a battery in this clicker. The worldwide battery market is $100 billion, same as Facebook. And we like it because this is a huge opportunity. But the problem is, all of these batteries are dangerous and explosive. And these are real images, by the way. So battery safety is a big problem. In addition to safety, energy density is another big problem. Batteries today don't last long enough. Imagine your laptop battery lasts longer. Today, a typical laptop lasts about 8 hours. So you fly from Boston to San Francisco. I don't know, maybe. Do any of your laptops last that long? Because mine does not. Now imagine your laptop lasts from Boston to Beijing, a 16-hour flight. Now imagine your electric car goes farther. A Nissan Leaf will get you from Boston to Worcester. A Tesla Roadster will get you to New York City, maybe. Solid Energy will get you to grandma's house. 500 miles on a single charge. And these are not imaginations. These are possible. And today, we are introducing a breakthrough battery technology. And we're calling it PEEL, Polymer Ionic Liquid Rechargeable Battery. It has 3 times the energy density of lithium-ion. It can safely operate from minus 40 degrees Celsius to 250 degrees Celsius. It can be manufactured at scale using existing facilities. So we don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars building a plant and then to go bankrupt. And it cycles 5,000 times. In the world of batteries, this is what a battery looks like. Well, actually, this is what it looks like. Dave, could you get a shot of this? Nice. So this is a coin cell that we made with PEEL technology. And just to demonstrate the proof of concept, I'm going to use this to light this little LED. And it works. So I'm showing you this at room temperature, but obviously we've tested in the lab and it works up to 250 degrees Celsius. Could you go back to the slides? Thanks. So obviously we patented this. I'm a co-inventor on 2 MIT patents, and we have an agreement with the Technology Licensing Office to option the patents. The PEEL technology is also applicable in future batteries. Solid Energy is well positioned to have long-term technological leadership, and will be competitive for as long as lithium battery is relevant. Now the business stuff.
Thanks, Qichao. Yeah. So Qichao told you how we're building the technology. I'm going to tell you how we're building the company. So consumer electronics, electric vehicles, oil and gas drilling, grid storage. These are some of the largest addressable markets for our technology. Several of these are multi-billion-dollar markets, but those same markets also compete on cost, and they compete on scale. And for a small company, startup like us, competing on those things just isn't the best. So we're targeting oil and gas drilling as our initial market. The unique thing about oil and gas drilling is that their batteries already sell for $2,500 per kilowatt hour. That allows us to do 2 things. It allows us to achieve much higher gross margins and get to profitability much more quickly. So the way batteries are used today in oil and gas drilling are in 2 things. These measure while drilling, logging while drilling type of applications. And that's for the electronic sensors that are used for data collection. But what needs to happen for the oil and gas drilling, it needs to be incredibly safe and needs to work at a really wide temperature range, the coldest to the very hottest conditions. So there's a very acute customer pain in oil drilling. Every time they have a battery-related downtime, we're talking about a $6 million event. And these events happen 4 times a year per driller on average. We also know that this customer pain is so acute because they're already funding our research in the lab today. So we have a really unique value proposition. They use lithium thionyl chloride. That's an unsafe material. We use PEEL. Theirs is a hazmat item. Ours can be airlifted. They have a primary battery, not rechargeable. Ours is rechargeable. And theirs is explosive, corrosive, and it leaks. And it works at a lower temperature than ours does. Ours is completely safe. We have the right team to do this. We have Chi Chow, the co-inventor, Dr. V. Schwass, an oil industry expert and MIT Sloan Fellow, Mike Haggerty, graduating with the Technology Policy Program from MIT, and me from Harvard Business School. We also have one of the world-renowned experts in batteries, Professor Don Sadoway, as our technical advisor, and we're looking to hire scientists and engineers motivated to help us tackle this problem. We're Solid Energy. We make the world's safest batteries.
Sure. So, as I understand, the core technological advance is based on this liquid ion capability. You're going to have to scale that up to be able to, and get to a good, acceptable manufacturing price to be able to begin to really have prototypes out there. How do we know that's going to work, and what's the price tag associated with that right now?
So the core IP is actually both in the design and also in the materials. And actually, we've talked to the suppliers for the ion liquids, the polymer precursors, and they can synthesize those in tonnage. So supply is not a problem, and the ion liquid, the polymers, they all pretty much commodity materials. We just have to synthesize that.
Right. I think what's also really important is that our battery slots right into the existing manufacturing process. So they're currently using liquid technology, liquid gels. Our electrolyte is delivered in the same type of solution, and it goes right into the same process they use today.
And so you're saying there's no manufacturing hurdles, or there's no unknowns in being able to develop and provide in large quantity that synthesized.
Obviously, there are risk and technical risk in terms of scaling from a low coin cell to a big battery, but that's been done by other companies, so it's pretty standard. There's no fundamental science risk.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Solid Energy. We now like to take a moment to thank our platinum sponsors, without whom none of this would be possible.
Brown & Rudnick. Brown & Rudnick is an international law firm with a diverse set of practices including intellectual property, venture capital, life sciences and biotech, clean tech and energy, emerging technologies, and much more. Brown & Rudnick partners have served as mentors, judges, and platinum sponsors for several years. It is the proud law firm of many 100K companies. Morse, Barnes Brown & Pendleton. Morse, Barnes Brown & Pendleton PC focuses exclusively on the core legal services that businesses need to succeed. It helps businesses of all sizes, from startups to Fortune 1000 companies, in these service areas: IP, licensing, corporate, employment, and taxation. It ranks in the top 15 firms in VC financing on the East Coast. Learn more at mbbp.com. Siegel Family Foundation. The Siegel Family Foundation supports innovative people and ideas, focusing on development solutions in rural sub-Saharan Africa. Catherine B. Reynolds Foundation. The Catherine B. Reynolds Foundation's goal is to ignite imagination, to build character, to teach young people the value of education and the power of the individual, and to inspire them to aim high and reach for greatness.
All right, we now like to invite our next team to the stage. From the Web IT track, recovers.org.
Test. We are Recovers.org, and our system of disaster relief management has grown from a local platform to a new standard in disaster response.
Our hometown of Munson, Massachusetts was hit by an EF3 tornado last summer. Our house was hit, that's the one, and the town was left reeling. Within a few days, we realized that the town's response was unable to meet the needs of the hundreds of affected families. So we started organizing. We built a system using social media and databases to more rapidly capture available donations online and to organize spontaneous volunteers. Soon, Munson's recovery became the fastest in the region, even with this Frankenstein system of web tools. We logged 2 orders of magnitude more volunteer hours than our neighbors, and we were soon sending donations away because we had too much, because we knew how to effectively ask for it. But why did we have to build this system from scratch? Why didn't these tools exist?
We realize the disaster response is about a decade behind technology. When a disaster happens, large aid organizations like FEMA and the Red Cross can bring enormous resources into the town, but they don't organize spontaneous volunteers, they don't collect donations, and they don't stay. This leads to the 2 major problems in disaster response today. First, there's no easy way to capture the initial online response that happens in the first 7 days post-disaster. And second, the only people who are in charge of long-term recovery are local organizers, and they're given none of the tools. Recovers.org solves those problems. Our software can be launched immediately. It provides a centralized hub for both volunteers and donations, and it also collects all the information that FEMA requires for knowing how much federal aid to give to a town. And we also realize that our business model needs to be hybrid in order to be sustainable. So in order to do that before a disaster happens, we're a for-profit business that controls our IP and licenses it to towns. After a disaster happens, we're a non-for-profit business, and everything goes through our nonprofit branch. Our software is licensed to towns on a yearly basis, and the community is trained before the disaster happens so that they're ready. And now we realize that these towns these towns around the United States need our services, and we're the only ones in this market.
During the Accelerate period, we've turned this idea into a high-impact and sustainable business. We finished our software, building a beta version of our platform. We proved concept in an active disaster area, and we're currently in talks with over a dozen potential clients. We're working with 10 towns in Western Massachusetts, the Worcester County Emergency Management Department, and 5 towns in Illinois to adopt the disaster dashboard as part of their emergency systems. Highlighting the need, we were contacted, not the other way around, by our first paying clients before the platform was even finished. This is over close to 1 million people that we're looking to cover just this year. Now, as we get bigger, we know that we need to scale and sell at the regional level and national organizational level, and we're also looking to add enhanced functionality to the platform that we're selling to towns for day-to-day needs. To refine our product this month, we went to Clay, Alabama, a city recovering from a deadly round of tornadoes. In the span of just 3.5 days, we were able to set up an online recovery hub, train 2 local administrators. We were adopted by the city and the area churches, and we exited. Now they're running themselves, and the regional branch of FEMA has called this the best organized and fastest recovery of all of the affected towns. Finally, this month, we built the simple and powerful tools that we needed after our disaster in Munson, Massachusetts. Everything is mobile accessible, and this is actually on the internet now. Everything is mobile accessible and available at townname.recovers.org immediately after a disaster. It's a one-stop shop for organizers, for those who need help, and for those who want to help. And we've received support for this product and support for this concept from all levels, from academia to the Department of Homeland Security to the people on the ground who are putting their communities back together.
We have a quick testimonial.
Recovers.org not only is an innovative program, and to my knowledge there's nothing quite like it in the country, but also is something that packages a range of attributes that are extremely useful potentially particularly to small communities.
Recovers.org helped us. They came in one of our biggest time of need and showed us how we can effectively communicate between the churches and all the different organizations that were offering relief help and gave us a website to manage all that, and they still provide support, and we appreciate everything they've done.
So we're small and fast and light, and we've done some good, and we can do some more sustainably with your help. Please support recovers.org. We can make a big difference with this prize, and we can do a lot of good. Thank you so much.
So have you thought about actually giving away this software to get traction very quickly, or doing one big contract to FEMA and then monetizing all the other things you could do once you got this data? And if you have, share with the judges what some of your thinking is.
Yep. We realized that towns are more likely to get on board when they know other towns have already gotten on board. So the first round of customers, we're giving a very, very reduced price in order to, provide them with what they need and to get their support. And moving up, we do realize that the door-to-door salesman position is not a great one for a startup company. We're currently talking to people in the Department of Homeland Security and in FEMA.
We were actually wondering, beyond that, have you thought about how to monetize this data? Let's say you get it out there and a lot of people have it. Have you thought about follow-on products besides the disaster?
Yes, absolutely. We're getting in on the ground floor into a line item as on the town budget as disaster software. We're building this to be huge. We can sell on additional functionality to pay parking tickets. It's a very flexible, robust organizing software that every town can use.
All right. Thank you very much, recovers.org. Now we'd like to invite up our next team from the Emerging Markets track, We Cyclers.
The city of Lagos, Nigeria, population 18 million, and home of my partner Billikis, is growing fast, and it generates 10,000 metric tons of waste per day. Yet only 4,000 of those tons are collected. What happens to the other 60%? It ends up on the street, and mostly in low-income neighborhoods where people don't have the luxury of having their trash taken away. While this is an eyesore and also a public health hazard, 80% of this uncollected waste could potentially be recycled, and it's also a tremendous opportunity. We Cyclers seeks to crowdsource uncollected recyclable waste from low-income communities and link it to hungry industrial supply chains. In January, we used our Accelerate period to go to Lagos to validate if A, there are low-income households that would be interested in providing us with recyclable material and at a compelling scale, and B, whether local recyclers would buy the material that we collected. To understand the households, we held demo trash days where we collected 276 kilograms of recycled material, as well as interviewed our customers. We learned that customers currently pay trash disposal fees to private collectors, and giving us their recyclables would actually reduce their costs by up to 1/3. We then took the waste that we collected to local recyclers and sold it. From these interactions, we learned that recyclers are constrained by the availability of quality inputs, and we secured 2 verbal agreements to buy any of the material that we can provide in the future. So having validated the customer and the buyer side of this equation, we realize that there is business potential in the link between the two. However, to make We Cyclers viable, we need to optimize 3 competing variables: minimizing our transportation cost while maximizing the volume that we can collect and the pricing that we get at time of sale. So armed with our field research, we've come up with a strategy and a technology solution that will do just that. Meet the We Cycle.
Thank you. So during our trip to Lagos, we learned that households generate about 350 grams of waste per day. If you assume that they're only willing to walk 5 minutes to dispose of this trash, we realized that we'll struggle to keep up with the costs of maintaining a fixed brick-and-mortar collection system. In addition, bicycles are very adept and agile at manipulating these densely populated, poorly paved road networks in the slums. They will also help us to really reduce the last mile transportation costs. The WeCyclers are equipped with collection bins, weight sensors, GPS trackers, and onboard shredders. Our modular structure enables us to scale up rapidly while minimizing upfront fixed costs. We are shredding these materials as we collect them because we realize that shredded material commands 2 to 3 times the value of unprocessed materials. In addition, as you compress these bottles and aluminum cans, you can optimize our collection capacity. Our SMS-based points management system will enable us to build a strong relationship with our clients. We will capture collection information, basically the amount and quality of materials collected. Customers will receive SMS messages with points, which they can accumulate and then redeem for basic household items, staple food, and cell phone minutes. Each WeCycle will collect 60 tons of material every year, generating $50,000 worth of revenue per annum. We hope to be profitable by the 3rd year, and by year 5, 2018, we will be collecting 8,000 metric tons of waste, diverting 2% of Lagos's landfill capacity into recycling value chains. We've already engaged with mechanical engineers, and we are designing a prototype which we will pilot in Lagos over the summer. With $10,000 per accelerate, we can prototype a WeCycle, send an engineer to Lagos to build a WeCycle with locally sourced materials, because that is more sustainable, and then we will run a pilot for 3 months. Thank you for helping WeCyclers to clean communities and help people improve their lives.
So, are you at all concerned, or maybe just comment, if you educate local population about recycling and you start to create a market for recycling, it seems to me that a lot of other people might enter that are less price sensitive, you know, and you could create an awful lot of competition that wants to raise sort of margins down to the bottom. What are your thoughts on that?
So we know about this fast follows people. In developing world, that's a problem. Is people see that you have a good model and they try to copy you. What we're going to do is that we're going to keep our cycle costs low so that we can push out a lot of them. We'll penetrate the market and ensure that we have a brand loyalty. Also, our SMS points platform will really build a strong relationship with our clients and keep them coming back to us.
And that seemed to be a low price point to build a WeCycle. You mentioned GPS tracking, lots of other technology. You've got to have things that are crushing glass and shredding plastic and what have you. Have you thought through all of the steps in terms of what's really needed to build such a such the set of machinery?
Yes, we understand that it's a very, very complex device, and we are working through with the Pedal Powered Group at MIT, and they're actually right now working on a model that we'll take back to Lagos. So these different items will be something that we're going to test during our pilot.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, WeCyclers. We'd now like to take a moment to thank our gold sponsors.
WilmerHale. WilmerHale offers unparalleled legal representation across a range of practice areas critical to startups. They've helped thousands of entrepreneurs successfully launch their companies, raise billions in angel, venture, and strategic financing, and take their companies to sale, IPO, and beyond. Foley Hogue. Foley Hogue is a full-service international law firm with offices in Boston and Waltham that serves a diverse set of industries from technology to clean tech, from life sciences to telecom. Foley Hogue. It is a proud gold sponsor of the MIT 100K. Wolf Greenfield. Wolf Greenfield is a Boston-based law firm that specializes in intellectual property law. Its lawyers have deep technical knowledge so that the firm can best protect its clients. Its clients include Nobel Prize winners and startups from all industries. Goodwin Procter. Goodwin Procter is a full-service international law firm with a Boston office. It serves all industries. It provides significant support to startups, including its Founders Workbench, where startups can find free resources they need for starting their company.
Thanks to our gold sponsors. We also want to say thanks to our office space partners, so Space with a Soul, Geek Offices, and T3 Advisors that generously donated office space to our Accelerate teams over the last 3 months. So thank you to our office sponsors. And now I want to invite up Anya Priester up to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Anya Priester, and I was the mentorship co-lead for the Accelerate contest. I was the primary point of contact with the teams over January and over the Accelerate period, so I had the pleasure of getting to know many of them well as teams and individuals. As you know, these folks have been busy for the month. In addition to working on their business plans, they've also had access to some resources while on campus. Each team was partnered with a mentor who had expertise in their area. They had a number of workshops to attend. We also hosted a design charrette where teams were partnered with design students or design experts to help to visualize their product.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now we'd like to invite up our next team from the life sciences track of Verisense.
All right. Cool. All right, so I'm Jonathan. I'm a board-certified physician and the CEO of Verisense. And we're building a transformative platform for biomarker diagnostics. So a biomarker is a protein found in the blood that, if present, tells physicians if a certain disease state is present. And the major workhorse to detect these biomarkers has been the ELISA test for the past 40 years. But as such, it's got a couple issues with it. First of all, it's very complex. It requires a lot of coordinated processes, washings, labelings, et cetera, to actually run. And it has two big limitations. One, only one protein at a time. And two, you have to usually have a decent amount of blood to get a consistent reading, usually requiring a stick in the vein and drawing off the blood and using the sample that way. Our nanosensor, though, should revolutionize the way we do biomarker detection. The best way to describe that is with our first product, the Verisense cardiosensor. So every year, our ERs are bombarded with patients. And about 8 million of these patients are presenting with symptoms suggestive of a heart attack. And busy clinicians have to quickly figure out, is this a heart attack? Do we bring him inside for the expensive emergent treatment? Or do we send him home safely without care? Right? One of the main ways we do that is with the protein troponin and a few other biomarkers. Now here's where we're really going to diverge off the two technologies. Conventional technology, which still has massive market share, about 70%, takes about 50 to 160 minutes for that result to come back. And remember, every second that clot is in that vessel, every second, those cells aren't getting oxygen. They are dying, they're becoming scar, and they do not come back. That's why these patients are so expensive. Time is muscle here. So no surprise, over the past 10 years, we've seen the emergence of something called point-of-care cardiac biomarker testing, which can get down to about 20 to 30 minutes. All right, but they still have that same limitation, right? Only one protein at a time. There's a bunch to do here. And they're going to require this large blood sample to do it. All right, for us, we're going to be changing this dramatically. Ours is going to take 2 to 5 minutes to have a sample. No more coordinated actions, no more moving parts. It's very simple. You need a small pinprick on the finger, you drop a little bit of blood on our sensor, and you get your measurement. And again, we're freed by this constraint of an IV. We can put this thing anywhere. We can bring it a lot earlier in the process. Put it in the doctor's office, put it in the ambulance, get it in the OR, which is where I work. I'd kill to have something I don't have to mess with an IV. All right, we can put it in a lot of places the traditional device they couldn't reach and really extend that. All right, just the point-of-care cardiac biomarker market is growing at about 12% per year. It was about a little under $400 million last year. And because of our speed and our mobility, we're expecting to catch around 20 to 30% of this, hopefully within the first 3 years of being on market. All right, so where are we at? That sounds great. But over the past 6 weeks, we started with just an idea, and we actually developed a fully forming prototype sensor. The darn thing worked, and actually had a beautiful linear response to troponin, which got us pretty excited. Are we already considering our next two sensors, which is going to be for renal dysfunction and sepsis? But right now, we're focusing all the chemistry on that cardiac sensor. We need that thing to sing. And there's a few other biomarkers we're going to add on to make it a panel. Again, they can only do one biomarker at a time. We can do hundreds at a time simultaneously. That's really the future of medicine. All right, after working with a third-party engineering team, we believe we can get our primary engineering done by the end of 2013, our clinical studies done by midway through 2014, and product on market at the end of 2014, maybe early 2015. It's about 2.5 years from go. That's pretty good. All right, along with that, we can really get set up to do our second-gen product, which is really where the excitement happens. Again, we can leverage the fact that we can do hundreds, thousands of these biomarkers simultaneously with the same sample. All right, we've all heard, healthcare knows we're going towards personalized medicine. We all know that's the case. But we've lacked the tools to do this. At the bedside and right then and there, we can do this to get this kind of detection. And it allows us to do a couple other things. Disease states like lupus, which have baffled clinicians, right? There's so many proteins involved. We can get a diagnosis. And we can even tattoo sensors underneath the skin to get real-time in vivo sensors of these things for things like glucose, things like BNP, and other really important biomarkers. Probably the coolest thing we have with our team is actually the experience of the team. Right? We're global leaders in nanosensor design and fabrication with over 200 publications to date in things like Nature and Science. All right, so just to sum up. So we're a very experienced team with the most cost-effective solution in a rapidly growing market, all created over only 6 weeks of time. Right here, time is muscle again. So rapid diagnosis is absolutely critical for taking care of our patients and saving the healthcare system valuable resources. Thank you.
You've bet a lot in your business plan on troponin being the right thing. It takes advantage of some things you're doing. Right. It doesn't take advantage of others. Yeah. How do you know that's the right thing to do when your real innovation is the platform underneath it?
Right, I'll give you my answer, and I'll be curious to actually hear yours as well. So I think we have a couple really cool value propositions we're going to offer. Again, speed and mobility. And again, that's one of those really cool disease states, not a good disease state at all, but time is so valuable there. So our speed is going to be big. And the fact that we can really move it out into the market much sooner, I think, is to really leverage our strengths. The real strength, though, again, is going to be that multiplex detection, multiple proteins. But we're going to start with one that's very simple, that we can prove out, and clearly there's a customer in need for this. We'll be a lot more less expensive than these other guys, just because, again, no moving parts into that stuff. I think it's going to be a good market for us. And I don't know if you have anything else you have to add to that.
We view the troponin market, the heart attack market, as really the beachhead. You have to land somewhere, and that's an existing market. Since we have to get regulatory approval, there are existing technologies there that we can compare favorably against, that it provides us an easier access into that market than a totally unknown market that we, like lupus, as John mentioned earlier. So by going that route, that provides us an easier way into the market.
All right, thank you, Eversense. Now we'd like to invite up our next team from the products and services track, Meter.
Sweet. So we're Meter, and we're going to talk today about the next industry that mobile devices and analytics is going to change, and that's agriculture. And actually, agribusiness is ripe for change because it's already changed a lot recently in the past 20 years. Raising cattle for about the last 2,000 years looked like this, but there's been a dramatic shift because we like cheap beef, we like cheap steak, we like cheap hamburgers, and so we've created these large-scale enterprises called feedlots. And they do a great job of keeping the price of beef very low. But as you might expect from packing a whole bunch of animals into a pretty small enclosed area, there are some drawbacks to feedlots. The chief among them is illness. If you put a whole bunch of animals in one place, a lot of them get sick. And they mostly get the flu in this case, which in cattle is called bovine respiratory disease, or BRD. This is Kevin. Kevin is the manager of a feedlot in Idaho that produces 90,000 head of cattle. And that makes it about a mid-sized kind of lot. And Kevin is a pretty experienced manager, and he has a set of expectations and a set of forecasts about how he's going to do it every year. And it turned out to be a warm and rainy spring last year in Idaho. And that was really bad for his forecasts. It meant his mortality from BRD was about 50% higher than he anticipated. And his illness was about 25% higher in aggregate. And Kevin is a very margin-sensitive business, as you might imagine. So changes in gross margin are really damaging. Mallard River almost went under. They had to take out a $750,000 loan from their bankers. And Kevin almost got fired himself. So needless to say, he spends a lot of time thinking about BRD. And there's not much that Kevin can do to change the weather. But what he can do, if he and his 15 staff knew and could identify which cows were sick before they got all the other cows in a herd sick, they could have quarantined the cattle that were ill, they could have stopped the spread of disease, and they could have avoided most of the losses they encountered. And Kevin is right to be concerned. BRD is a massive, epic problem. It affects about half of the cattle on feed in America. And it's also a problem that technology is ripe to solve. If you can figure out which cows are sick earlier, you can quarantine them right now with existing kind of feedlot practices. But that's pretty expensive and time-consuming, the way feedlots do business right now. So what we've developed is a mobile biotech solution that's going to detect BRD early and dramatically reduce infection. And we think long-term, our platform is also going to be able to generate data that can help feedlots improve their supply chains and do things like purchase cattle from producers that usually generate cows that don't get sick. It sounds a little silly, I realize, to talk about putting mobile devices on cows. Before 2002, it was pretty silly to talk about changing the genetics of crops for food plants. Monsanto is a company that's worth, I think, $38 billion the last time I checked. But people don't think that's silly anymore. So I think this is going to be a similar kind of conundrum. Our first customers are big feedlots. They're pretty eager. They're highly margin aware. They have a history of embracing innovation, kind of like this. And several of the largest feedlots in the US are already interested in our product. And based on input from them and agribusiness professionals, we've designed the meter ear tag. The tag features a tracking RFID, as well as several thermometers and a 2-color LED that blinks to notify feedlot pen riders if an animal is ill. It's compatible with existing feedlot practices. And kind of the basic idea is that rather than see a whole herd of cattle, any one of which may be about to get sick, operators see an unprecedented early warning system that gives them some insight into the health of their herds. Over the past month, we produced a high-fidelity prototype, and we tested it at the research feedlot at UMass Amherst in Northampton, Massachusetts. And based on our tests and existing vet data, we think the first symptoms of disease appear 2 to 6 days before they result in cows sneezing and coughing all over the place. And MEATER will expose these symptoms, allowing farmers to reduce the number of calves that die and limiting the spread of disease. All told, this is a savings of about $27 a calf, and we're looking at going to market with at a price of about $7 per cow. We have a phased approach to bring MEATER to market. Our seed round will fund product development, testing, and refinement with 5 beta customers. And we've identified 3 of these customers already. It's an 8-lot Kansas conglomerate and small independent lots in Idaho and Montana. From there, we're going to target large conglomerate lots. We're going to build an experienced but small direct sales force. And then we'll subsequently expand to large independents and target small lots and dairy farms through existing kind of agricultural supply outlets. We've assembled a team with deep technical and business expertise. We have firsthand experience around agribusiness in general and cattle raising in particular, and we're incredibly passionate about changing an industry that we think is crying out for innovation. Cattle illness is a serious challenge to American agribusiness. It's also an incredible opportunity to make a massive impact with technology that already exists. And we think we have what's going to be the most valuable, easiest to use solution to this problem. And we're currently preparing to roll out a minimum viable product on commercial feedlots. We're incredibly excited to have an opportunity to improve how agribusiness works. Thanks very much. Any questions?
So I know nothing about cattle at all, but this fascinates me for a number of interesting reasons. I think it's just cool to mobilize cows. So a very tactical question to start. How do you power the thing?
On each tag is going to be a tiny, smallest watch battery coin cell you can think of.
maybe even a solid battery, you know.
But synergy.
It only has to take a data reading once every 15 minutes to a half hour, and the cow is usually on the lot for about 6 months. So it doesn't.
How many replacement cycles do you see for that?
It's disposable. One tag per cow, and then you toss it after.
And it'll last the 6 months?
Because of the infrequent data reading.
Gotcha.
So it sounded like you might not be able to get the temperature readings you want just from the one tag in the ear. You know, if you think that there's some risk there, what's your alternative? And if you had to put a second probe, how would you do that? Where would it go?
We're also looking at behavioral analysis. How often a cow actually goes and eats from a trough can be an indicator. You know, if it stops eating, it's probably sick. And that actually is an indicator that shows up before a temperature change. So that's going to be the primary, and then secondary is going to be confirmation based on temperature. Great.
This is good.
I know.
Hi, my name is Kshitij Marwa, and I'm the mentorship co-lead with Anya. At Accelerate, we believe in going out there and doing things. Our next keynote, Joey Ito, is a perfect personification of this mantra. A few of his many, many achievements include founding Digital Garage, former CEO of Creative Commons, a board member at the Mozilla Foundation, a VC with investments in Kickstarter, Twitter, Flickr, Technorati, Last.fm, and many others. However, not many of you know that he's a guild master in World of Warcraft, a former DJ, a Hollywood producer, and a master scuba diver trainer. He is an amazing inspiration and an awesome friend to all of us at the Media Lab. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the director of the Media Lab, Joey Ito.
Hi. So, first rule, don't use slides if you don't know who's in the audience. No. So I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try to make a very specific point. So I'm an internet guy. I can separate my life from before the internet, where I was looking at this ladder that I'd have to climb, and in Japan we bow a lot, so I'd be doing a lot of bowing for a couple of decades. And then I discovered the internet, which allowed me to, actually being young was a feature and not a bug. And so my first really somewhat successful company was an internet service provider that I helped set up and was the CEO of. And I remember, and I guess I'm the average age in Japan, which is 45. Many of you probably don't remember when there was no internet. I mean, you remember. But we were fighting against X25. In America, there wasn't this battle, but X25 was being sort of designed by CCITT, which is an intergovernmental agency where a bunch of experts would show up, and it was big company research labs, versus the internet, which was, you know, David Clark coined the phrase rough consensus running code. It was really a struggle and a fight between centralized big company innovation versus decentralized innovation on the edges, or as David Weinberger would say, small pieces loosely joined. And it turns out that if you can change things as you go along, you actually don't have to anticipate every risk and think of every possible use. You can kind of figure it out as you go along. And the internet won, and X25 lost. And it was really the triumph of distributed innovation over centralized innovation, sort of oversimplifying many things. But so what happened is, I think that there was there's a book, Regional Advantage, by Annalise Sexantian, and it talks about how Boston lost a lot of innovation to the West Coast, because Boston, and none of you VCs are like this, but a lot of VCs on the East Coast wanted to invest in impressive people who look like they could sell tons of enterprise software. And if you look at the impressive people who actually built the really awesome internet companies these days, they don't look like those types of people, because the internet people, the people who are really good at building internet software companies, they're focused on products that sold directly to customers. They were agile people, they were design people, and they didn't sit around thinking about how to sell through enterprise software. And what's really important about the key thing that the internet did was and also with Moore's Law, you lowered the cost of production, you lowered the cost of collaboration, you lowered the cost of distribution. In fact, you could distribute directly. So what that did was that lowered the cost of innovation. And what happened when you lower the cost of innovation is you didn't need to have permission. You didn't need to have big companies. You didn't need to have a transponder to communicate. You didn't need any of this stuff. You could actually connect your little computer that had all this open source software. So if you look at Facebook, Yahoo, Google, they're all .edu when they started. They're still in the dorms when they started these things. And what's key about this is a bunch of different things. First of all, they're not happening in big companies. Second thing, in the old days when I started, you actually had to raise money before you could build anything because it cost so much, because the cost of innovation was high. When you lower the cost of innovation, you could build the thing before you raise money. So nothing against MBAs, but in the old days, you got the MBAs to raise the money to build the thing to show the people. Today, and this is why this accelerator program is awesome, you build the thing and then show the thing and then raise the money and then hire the MBA. So it's actually kind of backwards. And so that's why I'm glad that you're, yeah, exactly. Well, I wasn't going to say that, but really, it's really important that you understand that this shift has happened. So when I invest, I don't look at business plans, and I don't like business plan contests in some ways because they sort of promote too much the fact that I mean, if you're an early stage investor, you want to see the product. It's like, if you're going to show me a business, show me the product, show me the traction, and this is what you guys are doing today. It's really important. So assuming that is true, the big thing that's happening this year, and Rich, you know this better than anybody else, is that it turns out that the agility that we got from software because of the lowering of the cost of innovation is happening in hardware. So you got companies like PCH International, all these other guys that are shrinking the supply chain in China and the manufacturing so much that almost all of the hardware inventory risk is gone. And then you've got lots of interesting distribution going on. You go downstairs, you can build just about anything in our fab lab, right? You've got hacker spaces all over the place, 3D printers, laser cutters. So the prototyping process and the process of manufacturing has gotten so cheap and so light that the agility, the cost of innovation for hardware is going down to about, not as much yet, but almost the same as software. So what does that mean? That means just like innovation went from the big companies to the agile little guys in the West Coast, hardware innovation is going to go to startups. And if you, even with the big companies, if you think about it, so the Googles and the Facebooks of the world, even though they're big, they're still agile compared to these big hardware companies that have 4-year roadmaps, and that's like old waterfall development. So think about it. Google buys Motorola, HP gets out of hardware. This is a pattern. This is big, old, clunky roadmaps. Can't be agile enough for hardware. So this is, I think, the year that agile software is going to be a really big deal. And we'll see the big software companies like the Googles of the world and the Amazons of the world going all in on hardware, and the hardware companies running away because they can't be agile enough and being acquired by the software companies. But the opportunity really is going to be the startups who are going to take advantage of the ability to be agile, and it's going to be the VCs in this area who understand and have access to the hardware companies. And I do think that we have a regional advantage over here because the West Coast VCs had the monopoly on these software and consumer internet service companies, so they've kind of gone all in on that, and they haven't built up the expertise. I think we have a lot more expertise around hardware, and so to me, that's the big bet for me this year at the Media Lab, and I think that it's great that you're sort of pivoting this program around lots of hardware, lots of hard science as well, and I think this is going to be a pivotal year for us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Joy. Now we'd like to invite up our next team from the Web IT track, Bustle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gordon Wintrob, and I'm a senior here at MIT.
And my name is Ian Cinnamon. I'm a sophomore here at MIT.
Together, we're Team Bustle. We're building a platform that lets any community create its own online marketplace, like its own version of eBay or Etsy that's integrated onto its website. Over the month of January, we targeted a very specific problem. We're dealing with online forums, and today Ian's going to walk you through the specific pain point that we are tackling with our Bustle solution.
So online forums are bulletin boards where communities tend to congregate. Take, for example, this paintball forum, pbnation.com. It has over 500,000 users and $100,000 in transactions every day. And what do you see when you see this website? Just a lot of text. But let's say I want to buy a paintball gun today. I'll go to the classified section and more text. These are all the listings that are currently available. I'll click on one of them and I see an image. There's some text, there's not a price. It's just, and let's say I actually want to buy this item, I need to email the seller and either mail them a check or cash or maybe PayPal. It's not conducive to e-commerce at all. And that's where Bustle comes in. If PB Nation were powered by Bustle, it would look something like this. The first thing you see is a wall of images. You know exactly what you're getting yourself into. You could sort it by category, and then when you find the paintball gun that you actually want to buy, you click on it. You see the picture, description, price, shipping, and you can enter your credit card information on the site and complete the transaction there. And that's Bustle.
Now we realize probably not everyone here is a big paintball enthusiast who loves going on paintball websites and buying and selling their used gear. So we wanted to walk you through, why do forums care about Bustle? The reason is twofold. First of all, we leverage the fact that there's already this very tight-knit community of users who collaborate a lot and discuss a lot on these forums, and they don't want to go to a third-party site like an eBay in order to buy and sell. The second thing is oftentimes these forum owners run these forums out of sort of just the goodness of their heart. Just they put in their own money for all the web hosting costs, and we unlock revenue for these forum owners that previously they didn't have access to. The second thing is who pays. We've identified about 2,000 forums with more than 10,000 members. And of just the top 400 forums, they have something like $240 million in transactions every year. And so PB Nation, which Ian showed you, actually has something like $100,000 in transactions every day. The last thing is we're going after vertical forum networks, which are people who've bought up multiple forums in a certain vertical. So something like auto parts or paintball. And so we realize that e-commerce is a very crowded space. We want to talk you through how we kind of look at the related players. So we really evaluate them across two axes. There's a lot of solutions that are to build storefronts, and they're also marketplace solutions. And then there's non-platform products and platform products. And you've probably heard of a lot of these companies. On the top left, you have something like Shopify, which lets anyone create their own online storefront. And in the bottom right, you have something like an Etsy, which essentially lets anyone buy and sell their kind of used vintage goods or handmade goods. And we fit in the top right in that we're a marketplace solution that's a platform product that lets anyone make their own marketplace. And one thing that's key, though, is we're about more than just forums. We really see this as being a big move in moving offline commerce online. And so one of the first groups that we launched with is actually the MIT Student Art Association here at MIT. And you can check out their marketplace powered by Bustle at mitartmarket.com. Ian?
Okay, so over this incredible period of January during the Awesome Accelerate program, we were able to get a lot done. Gordon and I are both hackers. We love to program, and we actually built and launched our software. We started with 2 test marketplaces, a rocketry forum and the MIT Student Art Association that Gordon already mentioned. In addition, we did outreach to dozens of communities to figure out exactly what they want in an e-commerce platform marketplace solution. So moving forward, we need forum owners. Forum owners are the people who decide to actually put a Bustle marketplace on their site. So we need to get in touch with more of them. We also want to further explore offline to online communities, similar to the MIT Student Art Association. So check us out at getbustle.com. Thank you.
Sure, question. What market research or outreach did you do to any of these forums yet to figure out, whether they'd move and what it would take, et cetera?
Sure. We literally just cold called and cold emailed a few dozen of these forums, and it's pretty clear that there's usually one decision maker, someone who's kind of the administrator of the website, and they're able to move. We actually launched another website just yesterday. It's actually a Subaru car that's launching in 2013. They have a fan website, and they've integrated the Bustle marketplace just yesterday.
So, and of the $100,000 per day that PB Nation is transactions that go on through PB Nation, do they capture any of the upside for that?
They currently don't. They run ads on their website, which you saw, but they don't really help with anything. They do let you sticky posts, but the money that they make from that is nothing compared to the money that they would make from implementing one of our marketplaces.
So they'd go from simply the things get posted and transactions happen offline off the site to having the marketplace where you're posting all the goods on the site.
Right.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bustle. Now, for our last team, from the Emerging Markets track, Waste to Watts.
Hi, I'm Dave, and this is Chris, and we're from Waste to Watts. Our mission is to develop solutions to address energy poverty in the developing world, and our flagship product is the ENZI, a low-cost, high-performance, uninterruptible power supply. The major feature of this appliance is that it integrates reclaimed electronic waste to achieve the low cost with high performance. Energy poverty is absolutely endemic in the developing world, and we don't realise how spoiled we are. The World Bank suggests that the average person in the developing world experiences 18 power outages per month. If you're trying to study at night, if you're in a medical clinic and you're relying on your devices to stay online, if you're running an internet cafe or a restaurant with fridges and freezers, this is a really difficult way to do business, and it's potentially life-threatening. India is a particularly attractive market for us. As you'll see on this map, within an hour's drive of the New Delhi region in the north, there are 25 million people experiencing more than 3 hours of power outages per day. And in the worst case, in Kanpur, that number's upwards of 7 hours per day in summer. It's been estimated that as recently as 2009, that these power outages cost India $9 billion in economic activity. At the same time, I'm sure you're all aware of the proliferation of electronic waste in the world. This year there will be over 400 million units of electronic waste generated, and only 12% of those will be recycled. That number shouldn't be a surprise to any of you who've tried to actually recycle a computer or a phone in this country. In India, over 1 million tonnes of electronic waste are going to be generated this year. The reason we're interested in this is that whilst all this waste is being created, there's also an enormous and real market for backup power in India. Globally, this market's been estimated at $32 billion. The Indian market makes up a total of over $500 million, and that rate is growing very quickly. Of particular interest is that this market is characterised by poor quality, poor performance, and is quite fragmented at present.
I believe Maura, one of the judges, asked me what kept me up at night, and I kind of thought about it a bit after I had some time, and it's exactly this, the competitive landscape. There are plenty of players in this field. It's largely disorganized. There's only 3 companies, though, that control about 44% of the market, but my biggest fear is what they're going to do when they see what we've got, because basically there's been little technological innovation in the last 20 years in this field. The extreme price competition has really pushed down the quality of the product offerings that are out there. Typical products are about 50 to 60% efficient right now, which means they essentially waste half the battery in between any given charge. Again, we're really using the use of e-waste to compete with cost of goods sold. We're able to provide a much higher quality product, and unfortunately, actually, if you could go back, yeah. Unfortunately, current product offerings aren't able to provide a quality product. One of the biggest pain points we found as part of our pilot was that battery replacement cost is also prohibitively expensive, and we were very surprised and actually have just finished filing a provisional patent in this space that they're doing nothing to address problems associated with battery degradation and loss over time. So, now you can. So I'd like to introduce the ENZI. It is a low-cost, high-performance, uninterruptible power supply. We're about 93% efficient, and we're affordable through the use of reclaimed electronic waste. The sulfator adds up to 50% of life and can actually reclaim dead or used batteries. I'm really excited by this side and the competition in general. Up there in the top right, we made our first sale in India thanks to the 100K challenge. I'm really appreciative of this. We also talked to about 100 customers on the ground, distributors, as well as a number of other parties. This is supposed to be an iSlide. We really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this competition. We met contract manufacturers, the 3rd largest recycler in India who is going to partner with us. We met with government. We found 5 distributors. A litany of progress was made, all in the course of about a month, and 11 interns and staff being on the ground. So with that, I invite you to join us in bringing a life-saving, life-changing product to places in the world that need it most.
So one question that I think we had, if when you're building a product that you need to support, and you say there's already problems about reliability and the marketplace there, it seemed to us, I think two things. One, are you convinced that the waste products that you're sourcing are going to be reliable enough that you're going to have availability and uptime that is better than the products that are being manufactured with first-time run commercially made parts? That seemed to be a bit of a challenge. And then two, have you confirmed that you can actually purchase those recycled products for the same price less than you can new products off the shelf?
Absolutely. So if you look at the mean time to failure curve of typical power supplies, which is one of our components, they they'll live from about 10 to 12 years. A desktop computer, a laptop is thrown out every 2. So we ride that reliability curve. We also use extremely high reliability mechanical interfaces, serial ports, cablings. We're able to, we don't have concerns about the quality. We can actually warranty any of those pieces and replace them because, leading to your second question, we're able to incentivize e-waste recyclers to give us that because they look at it as constituent material value. So what's the weight of copper in this circuit versus it's worth 10x to us. So we're able to easily negotiate the price that it costs them. They could get on the open market as a constituent material value versus what we're able to offer and the value provides to us. So they're just as incentivized to give us the product. So yeah. Good job.
All right, thank you, Waste to Watts. And let's give all of our teams another round of applause. They did wonderful. And so now we'd like to ask our judges to step out for deliberations. And at the same time, we'd like to ask all of you, our audience members, to make a decision around who you thought was the best team that you saw tonight. We're going to be voting on this shortly. But before we do, we want to make sure that you all understand how to use our voting system. So we're going to use a technology called Poll Everywhere, which was provided by an MIT 100K alumni company. And it requires you to take out your cell phones. Please take out your cell phones. And it's going to use text messaging to count the votes. So we're going to ask you a question. And depending on what your choice is, you're going to text a code to the number 22333. So the test question tonight is, who is your favorite entrepreneur? So if your favorite entrepreneur is Bill Gates of Microsoft, the code is 457434. If your favorite entrepreneur is Bob Swanson of Genentech, the code is 457451. If your favorite entrepreneur is Mitch Kapor of Lotus, the code is 457452. And if your favorite entrepreneur is Steve Jobs of Apple, the code is 457453. So again, once you've decided which entrepreneur is your favorite, text that code to the number 22333. Thank you all for voting. And now wow, your favorite is Steve Jobs of Apple. All right,
surprise.
Thank you very much. All right, great. So now we're going to move on to the real thing. So please keep your cell phones out again. So now we're going to ask you to vote on which team you thought tonight was the best out of the 8 that you saw. So like before, you're going to text the code of the team to the number 22333. So the code for Bustle is 441689. The code for Eversense is 441688. The code for Meter is 164857. The code for Pedal is 163169. The code for recovers.org is 253972. The code for Solid Energy, 253930. The code for Waste to Watt is 4416 684. And the code for WeCyclers is 441690. So again, once you've decided which team was your favorite, text the code of that team to the number 22333. All right, great. Thank you all for voting. So we'll find out shortly who the winner was of the $2,000 Audience Choice Award.
But before we do that, we're going to invite up the new managing directors for the MIT 100K, Alice Francis and Adam Barilli, who are going to tell you a little bit more about the next contest for the MIT 100K.
Hi, I'm Adam Barilli.
And I'm Alice Francis. We're grad students at MIT and the new managing directors of the 100K Entrepreneurship Competition.
We wanted to take a few minutes tonight to talk to you about the upcoming contests, the UPitch contest and the business planning competition.
As you know, the MIT 100K is about building companies. Each contest challenges contestants to develop a particular skill that's necessary in order for them to become entrepreneurs. First, you pitch. Contestants use what they've learned in Charm School to sum up their great business ideas in 60 quick seconds. Then you accelerate. Contestants use MIT's IAP period to develop their prototypes and think about what products they want to launch. Then you launch. This year, we want to take a look at the business plan contest and build on the momentum of the accelerate period and incorporate more action so that teams are actually challenged to launch their businesses rather than just put pen to paper.
This contest will improve upon the business plan contest. We've heard from entrepreneurs that it takes more than a pile of paper to start a business. It takes a prototype, a demo, or customers.
And this works out really well because the desire and ability to take action and get your hands dirty is in every MIT student's DNA. MIT students don't just expect to learn theory, but they want to apply that theory and build something that matters. So even over at the business school, the majority of classes are based on action learning rather than just cases. In order for the 100K to meet the demands of the MIT students, we thought, why shouldn't the experience of building a business be more similar to the experience of building a product? Over the past few months, we took the time to redesign the business plan contest, focusing it on not only writing a business plan, but also on activities centered around launching companies. What exactly do I mean here? First of all, we're going to incorporate some goal setting. And the cool part about this is that every team will have different goals. It's going to be customized to the teams. So this could look like going out and getting customers and potentially funding on Kickstarter, or it might look like going and working with suppliers, or it might even look like buying some kite surfing lessons so you can go out with Seth. We're also going to make sure that the teams incorporate some customer feedback into their plans so that they're ready to adapt to the market needs. And we're going to support them by providing mentorship, and they'll be able to adapt their plans throughout the period. So what are the dates around this? First of all, we have some new changes to the way the application process is going to work. As I said, we're going to incorporate some goals. So you're going to have one-page summary of your goals, a two-page executive summary of your business idea, and then 3 blank pages that you can do anything with. So this is a chance for the teams to get creative and prove why they should be semifinalists. This could look like pictures of your prototype, some data, or maybe some potential marketing materials. Then, once a semifinalist is selected, they're going to work on actually achieving the goals that they set for themselves, as well as writing a 10-page business plan and 12-page slide deck. At the finale on May 15th, the finalist teams will then deliver their presentations to a panel of judges who will select the finalists and grant them $100,000.
So we have some exciting changes to talk to you about in addition to the ones that Alice already mentioned. Last year we launched the UPitch contest, elevator pitches on YouTube. It was a great success. We had contestants enter from all over the world. This year, thanks to generous support of the Catherine B. Reynolds Foundation, we're proud to announce to you tonight for the first time the Catherine B. Reynolds Foundation UPitch contest. This year, we're going to make it bigger and better than before. This is how it works. This contest allows students from all over the world, you don't have to just be MIT students, to submit their 1-minute pitch on YouTube. They'll leverage their network and have their network as well as the 100K community vote on the best pitches in the entire contest. Those teams who get the most votes will get judged, and eventually we'll give the winner a grand prize of $5,000. Last year, our winner, Clear Ear, got over 5,000 likes on YouTube. This year, we're going to go even bigger and better. Now, 5,000 likes might seem like a lot, but it's no Justin Bieber. But it's a great start, right? They got the $2,000 prize and a flight out to the finale of the business plan contest. But let's talk a bit about some numbers here.
Adam, these numbers are pretty simple. I mean, 25 is less than 50. That's pretty obvious, right?
Well, you're right. It is pretty obvious that 25 is less than 50, but it's not really about that. It's about 50 being more than 25.
So you mean the bigger the better, the more the merrier?
That's kind of it. You know, what we're doing this year is we're expanding the business plan contest so that instead of 25 semifinalist teams, we have 50, double, twice the number of semifinalist teams. The reason is we think that this year, much like in years past, we're going to get far more than 25, far more than 50 awesome teams entering the business plan contest. And we want to invest in those teams and help them succeed. We're doubling down on the business plan contest. So it's really exciting. We're going to be giving these teams a chance to compete and a chance to really get all the resources of any other team, the mentorship, the expense accounts, and all the resources of the 100K. Now, let's talk about some numbers I like a lot. Money numbers. So we have some exciting prizes coming up. For the UPitch contest, the grand prize is $5,000. For the business plan contest, one of our prizes across all tracks is the linked data prize of $10,000 sponsored by Thomson Reuters. Additionally, we have track prizes. This year, I'm excited to announce that the Siegel Family Foundation is sponsoring our emerging markets track, investing in companies who are investing in the developing world. Thanks to their generous support, we'll now have the Siegel Family Foundation Emerging Markets track as part of the business plan contest. The winner of that track will get $20,000. And the winner of the other tracks will also, the winners of the other tracks will also get $20,000. And of course, our namesake prize, the grand prize, the business plan contest, is $100,000. Now, in addition to this, of course, our winners of tracks and of the entire business plan contest get donated office space thanks to the generous support of the Cambridge Innovation Center.
Now, I know we've thrown a lot of new information at you, but I want to announce one last new prize, the Triple Crown. This is for any team that makes it to the finals of every single contest during the academic year. And there are a couple of teams out there that might just make it, so we'll see what happens. That prize will be $1,000. We want to thank everyone for coming out and making Accelerate such a big success, and we especially want to thank Andrea and Dennis, our fearless leaders. And for the teams, we want to remind them to submit their applications to the Clean Energy Prize and the Business Plan Contest.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alice and Adam. Now, we now like to thank everyone that's been involved with this contest to make it such a huge success. As you can imagine, organizing this contest was a huge effort by many, many people. We'd like to first thank all the mentors that have been working closely with the teams over the past couple months. Thank you, mentors. Next, we'd like to thank the over 60 judges that helped us narrow down the pool of applicants from 262 to the 8 finalists that you saw present on the stage tonight. Thank you to our judges. And last but certainly not least, we'd like to thank our organizing team. We have had the absolute pleasure, oh, I'm not done yet. They're just that amazing. I have to go on and on. We've had the absolute pleasure of working with them over the past few months. Each of them completely embodies what it means to be a student entrepreneur. Unending ideas, tireless passion, and incredible enthusiasm. This was a brand new contest for the MIT 100K, and they truly brought it to the next level. And it's been our great privilege for Dennis and I to work with them over the past 4 months. And if each of you could please stand, because I cannot think of a more deserving group. All right, so this is now when we have to bring the judges back in and draw them from the deliberations. They're coming? All right. So let's give them a clap, just to encourage them. Yeah. Yes, we'll get the envelope. I'll run and get it. Oh, no, we're coming. We're coming. Don't worry. All right, so here's the envelope. $2,000 coming right now.
And the winner is Solid Energy.
Come on up.
All right. Did you get in a picture with us? Is that okay?
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Our first photo.
Great. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. Thanks so much, Seth.
All right. Well, as you know, the grand prize for the Accelerate contest is called the Daniel M. Lewin Grand Prize. And there's a good reason why we've named it after Daniel. So before we announce the winner of the contest, we want to invite up Tom Layton, co-founder and chief scientist at Akamai Technologies, and also a professor here at MIT, to tell you more about it.
Thanks very much. So I was sitting where you are 14 years ago as a participant in what was then called the 50K contest. And it changed my life in ways that I could never have contemplated. And I'm going to take a few minutes tonight to talk about a little bit about our 50K experience. And I have, two goals there. The first is when you see how naive and unprepared we were in this contest compared to what we've seen tonight, you will know for a fact that if we could have been successful, you can be successful. And second, to tell you a little bit about Danny Lewin, who this prize is named for. Now, I'm a professor of mathematics at MIT, and at the time, back in '95, was working on algorithms in theoretical computer science, so sort of a cross between math and computer science. And that meant that I proved theorems for a living. And I wrote research papers. I didn't really write code. And I was really happy if 10 people would read my paper and say they liked it. And really, it made no difference in the world. To show you how naive I was about business, not only did I never have any intention of starting a company, I didn't know what a VC was. And even if you told me VC was an acronym for venture capitalists, I wouldn't have known what they did. Just completely clueless. Now, in 1996, Danny Lewin came to MIT, became my graduate student. He came from Israel, the Technion. I didn't know it then. That's a picture of Danny. I didn't know it then, but he was a captain in an elite group in the Israeli Defense Forces, sort of the equivalent of maybe the SEALs, the elite unit in the SEALs, and the captain of that unit. He was the guy that would lead the team that would jump out of the helicopter in enemy territory, undertake some classified mission, and then hike back 50 miles through the desert to get back home to Israel. You would never have known this meeting Danny. I didn't know it. He was my graduate student, my TA. I had no clue, really, at the time. I knew Danny as somebody who's a very nice guy and just off the charts brilliant. MIT is an environment where, well, everybody's brilliant. And in this environment, Danny stood out. And he did some fantastic work on load balancing in distributed systems where the components are unreliable. Ultimately won a thesis prize for that. and wrote his research paper on it. Actually, the paper, we wrote some papers early on. They all got rejected from the conferences because they thought that they would never be useful. They were the papers that ultimately led to Akamai, of course. Now, in the fall of '97, neither Danny nor I knew what the 50K contest was. No clue. Hadn't heard about it. But Danny's next-door neighbor, Pritish Nijawan, was in the Sloan School. And he heard about Danny's exciting work that might be relevant to the internet, and he says, hey, have you thought about the 50K? And Danny goes, no, what's that? And Danny was interested because he was about to go broke. He had 2 kids in private school. His wife didn't work. He had huge loans, and he wanted to be a professor. And back then, professors and algorithms didn't make much money. And he wasn't sure he was ever going to pay off his student loans, so 50K was sounding pretty good. And he was confused because he thought that if we won the contest, you'd actually get 50K and he could pay off his loans. In fact, then it was 35K, and it went to the company. Anyway, so Pritish talked us into forming an entry for the 50K. Our plan was to buy tens of thousands of computers, place them in thousands of places around the world, make partnerships with thousands of ISPs, and sell a service to the big websites that we would actually serve their content for them really close to the end users, and that would make it be faster and more reliable and save money. And it would all use distributed computing to just make it all work, be a shared platform for hundreds of thousands of websites. Now, you can imagine what people thought of that idea back then. In fact, our advisor in the 50K said that was the stupidest thing he ever heard of. And there was there were other companies out there that were doing caching and do a lot better job of it. So our advisor didn't last very long in the competition. We did somehow make it to the final 6 in the competition. Contrary to popular legend, we did not win, we did not place. And when we saw the other entrants, they were so much better than we were that it was clear that we just weren't really prepared and we were very naive. Now, at the end of the competition, we thought it was over. We had no intention of forming a company. It was really an academic exercise to learn how to write a business plan. We got books out of the library, how to write a business plan. Some of the judges approached us and said, we sort of like this idea. It's MIT, it's the internet, it's sexy. Let's form a company, and we'll flip it in 6 months or a year. We all go home rich and happy. Now, to show you how naive we were, we said no, that we weren't going to do that because I like being a professor. Danny wanted to be a professor. And we weren't really sure that it was going to work. During the 50K process, we'd gone out and talked to potential customers, and they all said, well, everybody knows distributed computing can't work, which is what we were doing. And that's an ivory tower concept, and thank you very much. Please go back to your ivory tower. So we'd been pretty much rejected all along the way with the idea. So we said we weren't going to form a company because we wanted to be sure it would really work, and we were hoping to just give the technology away or to license it to some ISPs. Maybe they could make it work. We failed in that. We couldn't get any of the ISPs to adopt the technology either. During the summer after the 50K, I had a dozen UROPs for the summer, and their goal was to see if they could write some code that would make a prototype or a demonstration of the technology. And MIT undergrads are amazing, and they did not 1 prototype but 2 over the summer, so we could actually demonstrate now the technology that everybody thought couldn't possibly work. We had computers set up all around the lab for computer science and to demonstrate the idea being the lab for computer science was like the world. And so we did incorporate and form the company in the fall of '98. And through some good luck and a ton of hard work and Danny's leadership, vision, and drive, and here's where it helped being the commando that walks 50 miles in the desert to get back home, the never give up attitude. And if there's one message here, it's never give up if you believe it can work, because everybody will tell you it can't work if it's really a good idea. So Akamai was successful, and of course the story has a bad ending in some sense. In 2001, Danny was killed on September 11th on American Flight 11. But we're here tonight to honor his memory, and we now have the Danny Lewin Prize to celebrate the winner of the Accelerate contest. So thanks very much.
We'll actually be back on stage to, And you can keep that, actually, 'cause you'll be doing the
You're
announcement.
going to announce the winner.
Oh, somebody gonna tell me who the winner is?
We are. So,
Okay.
Tom, it is our honor to have you announce the winner of the MIT 100K Daniel M. Lewin Grand Prize.
All right.
I can hold it right here for you.
It's Sound Energy.
Solid.
Solid Energy, sorry.
And congratulations to our winners, and thank you so much to all the teams that were a part of Accelerate. This is a really wonderful, wonderful experience. We hope to see all of you at the launch contest in the spring. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.